Scoundrels web series and podcast is filmed and recorded in their ship, the Centurion Vulture, and may contain language not suitable for all. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to Scoundrels, y'all. We are broadcasting from the Centurion Vulture. I am CG.
I am Paul Bannister.
Curtis Wayne Mellard standing by.
We are three grown-ass men here to talk about Star Wars as always, and this week we will discuss The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 4. Curtis, hit us with that rewind, dog.
Scoundrels Rewind.
Yeah, let's go back to the Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 4, The Foundling. We catch up with all the Mandalorians at the cave hideout. They are engaged in combat drills, while Baby Yoda hangs out peacefully. But Mando decides Baby Yoda needs to engage in combat drills as well. After a challenge of Mandalorian paintball, we further confirm that Baby Yoda is a little badass. But don't get too excited. Before Baby Yoda could even start to feel himself, a flying beast swoops down and takes the child Mandalorian and flies away. Everyone with the jetpack chases after the beast, but all these goofballs ran out of gas. This would be a great opportunity for Luke Skywalker to turn up in a T-16 Skyhopper and womp rat that ass. But this ain't Baker's Canyon, y'all. So we have to settle for Bo-Katan and her starship. Bo-Katan learns where the creature's nest is and returns to the Mandalorian cave to formulate a rescue mission. It seems a little tricky rescue because they can't use a lot of their Mandalorian tech, like jetpacks and shit, for fear of awakening this beast. So Baby Yoda sticks behind with the cult leader and learns some things about forging armor, but the violent process triggers a PTSD flashback from Order 66. Where the Jedi are fighting off clone troopers in the Jedi Temple. Baby Yoda is saved by Ahmed Best, who originally played Jar Jar Binks. He's actually a very talented performer, and I'm glad they found something cool for his ass to do.
I'm so tired of this bullshit.
Amen.
Hey man, they jump on a speeder bike and with a sweet sidecar, race to Coruscant. They race through Coruscant to get away from the clone troopers. After a few brushes with certain death, they escape in the Naboo starship. When Baby Yoda snaps out of it, he finds a newly minted Beskar chest plate with a kick-ass mud horde design. We catch up with the Mandalorian rescue posse. They decide to camp out one more night. Let's just fucking hang out.
Let's just fucking
One more night. Where we discover that these fucking weirdos actually do take their helmets off when they eat. What the fuck? I'm not even in this cult and I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
At first light, we find out the name of this creature is actually the Raptor. It's very creative. They scale the mountain only to find an empty nest. But wait, the baby raptors are in the nest and the mom raptor is right there. The mom is keeping the child Mandalorian in her mouth the whole time. The raptor gets pissed, grabs thick neck, little helmet Jon Favreau Mandalorian and flies off. The gloves are off. No more of this stealth bullshit. We engage in a life or death jetpack battle. Mando saves the day and they return to the cult cave. You guys know what I'm saying. Bo-Katan and Gold Helmet have girl talk and make armor. Bo-Katan tries to have Mythosaur talk, but Gold Helmet isn't really getting it. Or is she? Fade to black and scene and one little post-credit situation. This one was directed by Action Jackson himself, Carl fucking Weathers.
The Weathers.
Yeah.
Woo! Shit, that energy drink started to kick in halfway through. I think, I'm getting a little better at this. What do y'all think?
It sounds
good.
great. That was
good.
perfect. Yeah, and it's great because it kind of just refreshes my head too.
It kind of does mine too.
It is helpful for the rewind before we jump into the conversation. I'm going to do what I always do and throw it to one of y'all first. I will qualify before I say anything further. These guys know I have like a projector screen and I moved, so I just got that set up. So the other night I watched the first 3 episodes leading up to this in a row to be more consistent with how I've watched every other episode of everything you've ever heard us talk about.
In
Because I've
4K?
been watching it on like on a small little iPad, which is not quite the same experience. I was like, let me just like catch up on like the proper experience so I can really give it a fair shake compared to previous Mando seasons and other series. Which I did. And of course, everything is better when it's a bigger screen with the surround sound, especially badass dogfights, etc.
Yeah.
Having said that, CG, why don't you get your thoughts on this episode first, and then I'll circle back with that context in mind.
Yeah, I mean, this is the way. I mean, that was I liked that episode. I thought it was fun. It was just kind of cool seeing the Mandos doing their thing.
All of them. All the Mandalorians.
All of them. So I thought it was like we're getting back to. It was fun Star Wars.
Yeah.
A couple little, like you said, nitpicks. It was good to see the flashbacks because I think I missed lightsabers. So it was cool to see lightsabers again and just some Force elements.
It's always great to see a goddamn lightsaber, isn't it?
I'm always pumped to see a Jedi. I'm just like, even though like it's fun. I think they had like 4 Jedis and 3 of them died to 4 clone troopers.
I know. I was biting my tongue. I was like, I'm pretty sure we've watched a lot of movies where the stormtroopers can't hit shit, but somehow they are fucking killing these Jedi with no trouble.
I guess the clones are better. I think the clones are supposed to be better. And that's but you know, I see it's like Bo's looking around. I think she sees potential. And she's like, I think she's definitely getting that. What's that?
My bad. You're
No.
What were you saying about Bo? My bad. I could drop this anytime.
Oh no, she was just seemed like she was looking around like, yeah, this'll do just fine.
What is up with Bo? Is she feeling it, or is she like playing the fucking like both hands? Like, you know what I mean?
Man, I think she's feeling it. I don't know, but again, she could be both hands.
I don't think she's not feeling it. I'm not convinced that she's coming around to the dogma. I think she knows that she saw Mythosaur. I was pleasantly surprised that she told Homegirl about it because I think that implies that she's a little more open to this group than we previously thought. Yeah. I think it's got more to do with she's looking around and saying, well, this could be the beginnings of the new group that I could lead.
I mean, they are Mandalorians.
You know, by, like I said, being Khaleesi and taming the Mythosaur and this, that, and the other. That was kind of like my read on that.
Right. Like if I was in a cult...
What do we think... Curtis, I think I know what you were going to ask. What were you going to drop? Because I think I know what you were going to ask him.
I was going to ask, if I was in a cult, I would be like, I know I'm in a cult, but these people are cool, so we're just going to hang out and see what happens. But I was curious if he knew that was Ahmed Best. Jar Jar
I
Binks.
did immediately. The second he came on screen, I was like, look, fucking Jar Jar.
Well, I did not know immediately. I had to look. I was like, who is that? I was like, why does he look so familiar? Who is he from? And then I was like, oh shit, that's Jar Jar Binks. Good for him.
Well,
Good
dude,
for
I heard
him, you know?
he was. I heard he was like kind of disenchanted after the Star Wars experience.
You mean because he was the most hated character in one of the worst film series of all time?
He really was.
You mean that's
probably
why?
the worst character in all those films.
What was he supposed to do?
He was like the biggest chunk, the biggest, nastiest chunk of corn and the biggest turd of a movie of all time was fucking his role. And it's not his fault. He from a voice.
What was he supposed to do?
Exactly. On like a voice acting, like if he was a cartoon character and he was like doing that voice, whatever, you'd be like, this guy's fucking great at that. But in that context,
Jar Jar would have been fine as a cartoon, maybe. Yeah, dude, I was actually doing a thought experiment like last year, and like I watched episode 1 just to be like, okay, when does this thing start to fucking like actually just not work at all? And it's actually relatively okay. Up until fucking Jar Jar turns up in that goddamn forest.
Yep.
And you're like, dude, I can't. There's nothing redeemable about this. And then it kind of falls off. Like they're fucking swimming and there's fucking fish. Yeah, that dude's a fucking dickweed. But up until that point, it's like, okay, this is different, but it's still kind of cool.
Yeah. You suck a big doodle this time, Jar Jar.
I'm so tired of this bullshit.
It's fucking Looney Tunes, like literal, like just cartoon characters. You know, like just straight up cartoons. What do we think is the agenda? What are we leading towards with this flashback? I mean, is it just like in general? Do we think it's just interesting to get little nuggets of his backstory over time, or do we think we're building to something with showing this right now?
I mean, yeah, because didn't they give a couple flashbacks in the earlier seasons where I think it was just him, like just seeing, I think, the sabers. So I think maybe they're just slowly giving us Grogu's. I mean, he's what? He's like 50-something years old. So, I mean, he's obviously been around a while. So maybe because there is that unknown period of time between Order 66 and when Mando finds him when he's in season 1.
Yeah.
Of where the hell was this force, force being? Yeah.
I'm not convinced
that's a great question.
I'm not convinced that they're showing us this totally randomly. I guess not. I wasn't implying that it was going to be random, but the timing of this flashback is going to be in the same way when they'll give you like a recap before an episode, and it's usually relevant to whatever's about to happen in that episode.
Yeah,
they want you to stay.
You're like,
fresh
why are
on
they
it.
showing the scientist? Oh, because
I
he's
feel like
fucking
maybe
going to be hanging out for like 2 hours.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like that maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe there's going to be the eventual Ahsoka tie-in. Whatever they're doing to reinforce that he was amongst actual Jedi and was in theory training to be a Jedi before everything changed. I feel like that's going to be relevant in the next 4
where
episodes.
is Ahmed Best taking him?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a Naboo, like I was like, my first thought was he's like, is he going to Naboo? Like, because that's obviously a Naboo starship.
Oh yeah, at this point, like,
in
I'm
timeline.
always like,
because this is
never...
before Anakin turns. Like, if that seems like that's right.
Like
when Order
Anakin's
66
probably
happens.
turning. Anakin could very well be fighting Obi-Wan Kenobi at that exact moment.
At that moment.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that.
He's either slaughtering children in the temple.
That's because no one knows what the fuck's going on anymore, Paul.
Or he's gone to fight Obi-Wan.
So do you think we're gonna get a Portman cameo?
Dude, that bitch is could be dead in theory at that point.
Yeah, she's off chasing Anakin. Like, because I remember the flashback in Obi-Wan at that time, because the opening scene of the Kenobi series, that same shit's happening, and then the Reva has that flashback of Anakin coming in and killing everybody. So Anakin is either on his way to Mustafar or he's slaughtering kids in the temple.
But
oh yeah, Anakin may have
Amidala is alive, right? If that's the timeline, right? She's not dead yet.
Yes.
She's pregnant as fuck.
If he's in the temple, she's still alive.
Wait, does Anakin goes to the temple and then he fights? Oh yeah, and then he fights Obi-Wan because
Obi-Wan he looks at the like security footage of
and sees
what the hell happened.
Because after that, Obi-Wan
there's Anakin just killing kids.
Busts his ass.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I guess my pal's just straight up murdering children. So that's gonna have to work through that together.
Yeah.
Like Vader never really truly beat
Obi-Wan
Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi let him win that and New Hope. Like to be he's supposed to be the. I don't know who fucking knows. That's just a. I don't want to get on that side.
It's just interesting. Of course, I did the same thing. CG is like, okay, so he's going to Naboo. Does that mean he's going to see Amidala? You know, I also don't assume that everyone who goes to Naboo is hanging with the Queen, but you'd think a Jedi in theory. Like I could imagine.
Well, she's not the Queen at that point. Sorry.
Oh no,
she's
you're right.
Just
Senator.
And some other senator. So she might. Okay. Yeah, I don't even think she's living on Naboo at that point.
Got it. You're right. That makes sense.
She's in Coruscant hooking up with Annie. But she does go back. Well, no, but you're right. She does go back when she's pregnant to have the babies.
She does.
On Naboo.
Me and the prequels. I haven't watched that shit.
Jesus, hell, man, it's a lot to unpack. Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see. Like he's obviously in the hands of that. He's going in a Naboo starship. So how does he go from that to like? I don't know. Is he in the captivity of like pirates or bounty hunters? When, Mando goes and gets Grogu.
Yeah, like, when we catch up with him. Who the fuck are those people?
Also,
they look like
they kind of look like Jabba's
like
buddies.
Yeah. Why?
Why? And I'm not necessarily saying it's good or bad. I'm just
not
curious.
A bad why. Yeah, just curious. Yeah.
Do we need to? Is it going to become? I don't think I have a feeling about it one way or the other, good or bad. But I'm curious to find out if the filling in of Grogu's backstory is going to be a broader part. A part of a broader storyline that the series is going to explore, or if it's just interesting backstory for one of the most beloved characters in the series.
Yeah.
I think either is fine. If they do it to a broader story and they execute it well, although we'll get into my overall feelings in the season, I'm losing confidence that Mando is going to stick the landing on a broader storyline.
Heard, yeah.
But if they can, could be great. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. My whole thing after watching the last 3 episodes again, leading up to this one, and including the new episode, like this new one was fine. It definitely felt more of the, the single, somewhat contained story in one episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it had a bit more fun for obvious things.
It was fun.
Sequences, I'm trying to not always be this guy. I think that overall this season is being hit on the writing. I think that it's not as good as the previous Mando seasons so far. In the respect that I think the first episode was kind of a stinker. We got back on track with the second. The things that are good because we like the set pieces, we like the action sequences, and quite frankly, Mandalorian has always done that shit well. I think it's the reason even people like us who can be a little skeptical are on board, because at the end of the day, if you do a really great dogfight with fucking TIE fighters, motherfuckers like us are stoked. I don't know if we're going to be stoked to the extent that we want to be, but it'll be enough to keep an asshole like me watching every week. You know what I mean?
Yes. I'm with you
Having
on the
said
writing.
that, the writing is not great, and I also, rewatching it, the casting seems like it fucked up in this season. Remember when we had like Timothy Oliphant and Bill Burr and what's his name, Esposito, the guy who played Moff Gideon, like the people they were casting, fucking Rosario Dawson's going to be Ahsoka, for Christ's sake. The casting on big and small roles has been pretty fucking great, and regardless of the writing, a great actor can do more with mediocre writing. And then you go to this season and you think about the Doctor and that shitty other character.
The Doctor was fine as a bit role.
I didn't even think... I was bummed rewatching that episode with it, like his acting. Both those characters that, and like Curtis said, those dickweeds that we didn't care to follow, they did not do a good job.
I don't think that dude can carry an episode, but he was good. Yeah, that dude couldn't carry an episode, but when he was with what's his name, the
Herzog. That's what made me think of it.
When he was like with Herzog and just had like all he had to do was carry a scene for like 3 seconds or 2. I thought he was fine.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's what spurred the thought.
Werner fucking Herzog. What a bad motherfucker
they
that
did a
is.
quick recap before the 3rd episode, and it shows the scene with Herzog talking, and you just realize, like, oh yeah, he was only in the show for maybe 5 minutes, but he was fucking great. He had gravitas.
He played like a sympathetic kind of like weak kind of like He's not a main character. It's not somebody you want to spend 30 minutes on.
I don't know that I'm
not at all
named actors, but dip into like the theater departments in the Shakespearean. Like, go there if they're in England, you know what I mean? Like, dip into that pool. There are amazing stage actors you could be getting in for these roles that don't need to be big name Hollywood actors that require paying them a fortune.
Well, look at that new Game of Thrones, man. That's what they did. The House of the Dragon. Regardless of how you feel about the story, those actors. Fucking the side characters and shit, they were all like fantastic.
And again, it's fucking Star Wars. I don't want to hear them ever say budget. Fuck you. You have all the budget. You can hire anybody you want.
And who doesn't want to be a part of Star Wars?
Exactly right.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't want?
No one's gonna say no. You come at them with a decent payday, which that's fucking Disney. You can do it.
You're Disney.
It just seems a little. I don't know that I want to call it lazy. It just seems like bad choices.
I don't even know who the characters are. Everybody's got a goddamn helmet on.
As a side plot here, I listened to Jon Favreau on Smartless yesterday, which you should check out if you haven't. He's the newest guest on Smartless. Really great interview. And of course, they talk about Mandalorian a lot because what's his nuts? Sean Hayes is a big Star Wars fan, so he was super stoked to talk Star Wars with him.
Oh, rad.
And it's interesting. They talk about some of the tech stuff on the visual effects that we already know. But I got the sense by the time it's all said and done that he's doing a lot of shit. And I don't know how much, like he is probably writing most of this stuff and cooking up the storylines. But in terms of being on set, I'm not convinced that he's got his hands all over it in the 3rd season the way he did in the beginning. And I wonder
if
think
he's got a bigger role in general, right? Like as more of a like a little bit more like what Kathleen Kennedy was doing. I think he may have taken some of those reins.
And I worry that that's affecting the quality control a little bit on things like casting and writing. Because he's got other directors on the episodes, which we always had, but it feels like the directors, and no disrespect to Carl Weathers, I don't know that he did a bad job, but can't we do better than Carl Weathers? Like, with all due respect,
directing goes, that wasn't
for directors. Again, it's Disney. Hire, like, remember how they had Robert Rodriguez do the episode that introduced Boba Fett, and how I clearly felt that way? Like, damn, this feels good. And that's my other thing is, when was the last time you guys felt something in this season of The Mandalorian? Whether it was like the emotion of the Luke scene, or the tense nature of some of the stuff, even with Timothy Oliphant or Grogu being worried about him. Like,
the only time I feel stuff
is
when I see reaction shots of Grogu.
Right.
Yeah. What's funny you say that. Well, so it's like, it looks fantastic. The
Always
music
does.
in it is fantastic.
Great stuff.
It looks better. This season looks better than the past seasons have looked. It just looks cleaner. It looks real good. That's so funny. The only time I kind of felt something in this last episode is when Mando's chasing down to catch the kid. There was a cool, like, and I think it was just a great music swell to the thing. And I was like, woo, like, almost like, yeah. So I had fun in this episode.
Yeah, it was fun
because it focused on like this, like Mando fun, because it's more what I'm used to in Mando, which is that fun, like you said last time, Paul. Each episode's kind of its own, like, could be its own little story. So I had fun, and I thought this episode was fun. But yeah, I'm curious to know what the grand plan is here. I am very curious into Bo-Katan's story. I am genuinely interested in that.
It's the most interesting plot line of this season for me so far, is what is or
I think
isn't.
She's doing a good job.
I do too. Yeah. I am with you. I think that's the most interesting thing, and I think maybe that's kind of what's forcing me to ask myself these questions about how good this season really is from a writing standpoint, because you said this last week, CG, but we're halfway through. There's only 4 more episodes. We don't really know what the overarching storyline is. They've kind of implied that there's going to be 2 or 3 overarching storylines. And
that's very true. That
kind of bums me, because at this point, I am way more invested in this Bo-Katan, Mandalore history, revival of the Mandalorian story. I think we've already discussed last week's episode. I don't think any of us liked or care much for this Coruscant, whatever the fuck. We didn't move that forward at all.
That was no fun.
So I don't know. Is it going to be more about Bo-Katan, and that's just going to be a random thing that gave some context, and they're going to pick it up in a future season? I don't know. I will also say this. Why aren't the Mandalorians depicted more as badasses? Does anyone else think that this, they live in this cave? By the way, they almost all got fucking killed by this giant creature who can come out of the water 20 feet from where their cave is. Didn't inspire them to move.
Yeah, but why the fuck is Grogu hanging out by that water?
Ship. Why do they not have ships?
Yeah, and
Mando's got a ship.
Bo-Katan's
got a ship. They've got this they're straight up outward bound out here. And then when you see them on the
goddamn
shore,
Taliban hanging out in fucking caves and shit.
Totally. Yes.
And navigation's a huge portion of their creed.
Yeah.
Like, you have to know how to navigate the stars and travel. But yeah, what did you think?
They have all
Curtis?
these tech gadgets.
Yeah, none of these dudes have their own car. I have fun.
Okay.
I am a little worried about just what is really fucking going on.
Yeah. Endgame. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is not as good. But fuck, who knows? I'm gonna see if they can stick the landing, but I don't even know what the landing is. They're kind of all over the goddamn place.
It is all over the place. It's a little schizophrenic, and it's why you're hearing me kind of rant and rave a little bit now, is because I keep wanting to love it. And there are moments that I do. So there are moments that feed into what wants to love it, and I feel satisfied with that. And then it feels like a bipolar season, I guess is my point, more so than the others. The other ones were more
almost
consistent.
Tripolar, bringing in Grogu's other season. So it's you got the Doctor, you got Bo-Katan, you've got now Grogu. What's Grogu's back? Are they all gonna? Can they stick the landing? If they stick the landing, it could be good, like you said.
Yeah. Right.
They already played a lot of their fucking. They already shot a lot of their kick-ass cards, like Luke Skywalker card. They've already played. I forget how did season 1 end?
They said something big's gonna. I remember them saying before the season came out. They said, be prepared for another big surprise like the Luke thing. So at some point, we are probably going to see somebody we're familiar with.
I hope
they're going to bring back Jar Jar.
Favreau made a comment in Smartlist that was comforting. So they specifically asked about that. Sean Hayes asks about, will we see more cameos from major characters? And Favreau's answer was, a little cagey on purpose for fun to not reveal anything. But he did make it clear that they don't want to do that just arbitrarily. That if it makes sense and they're playing in these timelines where it can happen and it's potentially relevant to the events, they'll have some fun with it. But that they're not just going to start injecting, which was a comfort. Because if they started forcing it, that could be bad. Yeah. My only other gripe about the Mandalorians, too, is... Again, remember how badass Boba Fett was when they introduced him. And, of course, we know how Din Djarin is a fucking badass. The whole show's about him. We've watched him be a fucking bonkers badass the whole series. When they're all training on the beach, they looked like fucking amateur hour. And that's what I mean about from a filmmaking standpoint. Like, no one thought, hey, maybe we should, like, if we're going to depict them... training and the ideas are getting a glimpse into what their daily weekly life is like, maybe they should look like they're badasses at all. I don't know. They look like they were fucking LARPing in Prospect Park or something like that to me on that shot. And I know it's a brief shot.
Exactly.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, with like the foam swords and all the people in the parks that we have.
Fireball.
It looked
I wonder
like
if it was
that.
because it was shot in broad daylight. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I just think there's a way to shoot it. They could have done tighter shots where this. I mean, you can speak to this better than I can, Curtis. But it's like you cut on action, make it closer. There's ways to present a group of people training to fight in a way that's more intense than one wide shot where everyone's choreographed, just making generic fighting. I don't know. It just
it's hard to know. It's
seemed
hard
to be wasting
to know,
a lot of resources.
Now that you mention it, they do kind of even like they're kind of having trouble scaling that wall. Maybe they're fucking
that's
idiots.
what I'm saying. Well, my point is, Mando is a badass, and we've seen all the crazy shit he can do. And if the implication is all of the Mandalorians who are still trained up and studying the dogma should be equally badass, they do not come across as being equally badass to him, is my point. They've got no ships, they live in a cave, and their training looks low budge. Their kids get snapped up by big dinosaurs.
Right.
Dad can't keep his shit together to stick to the plan after spending the night under a rock and scaling this thing.
Yeah, how many nights are they going to hang out? Like, if that was my kid, I would have been there that fucking afternoon.
Yeah.
The whole thing it's fun. I'm not expecting it to be high art, but at some point, I just think that the rest of these Mandalorians need to start looking like badasses also. Because so far, Bo-Katan and Mando are the only two that seem like they can handle themselves.
It's funny. Yeah.
This feels a little bit like Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett.
And Mando is kind of the
remember those
newer
biker gang in Book of Boba Fett? Sorry, CG.
Jesus. No.
Like, I think those guys are just like, I think it's just like, I don't think those guys, I don't fucking know, but those, like that, like 2 mile an hour speeder chase and shit, that's kind of the same feeling that I think you're talking about, Paul.
Yeah. Just kind of
like, is this because these guys suck, or is it because you suck at making films?
Like, straight up, if somebody rolled up on that group of Mandalorians, like a group of New Order or anything other than a giant monster, do we really feel like that group could really fuck up a bunch of people? I don't.
Oh, no. And it's funny you say that about Mando, is because she mentions the crafter lady at the end. All of Mando's armor is just like straight Beskar because he's newer. Like, when they make newer Mando armor, it doesn't have, like, they can't do the designs that they did when they lived on Mandalore. So technically, Mando is one of the newer in terms of, like, he got his jetpack later. His armor is straight steel because he's newer. I guess in terms of being. And I don't know, what do they get new helmets when they grow older? Is that kid just?
Good question.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know. But it is weird to see that.
I'm still confused about the helmets, man. But I don't even want to get into a conversation.
I always knew
about
they could take them off. They weren't allowed. You're not allowed to let anyone see your face.
Okay,
that was their whole thing.
They were never really that clear about that.
Curtis, your rewind is on point.
1. Yeah. There's season 1 where it was like where Mando and the droid was going to fix them. He's like, no one's allowed to see my face. He's like, I'm not a real person, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah,
so
you're
it's
right.
not so much that you can't take your helmet off. It's no one can see your face.
It seems so silly. It's such a.
That's why he was also allowed to wear the stormtrooper outfit.
Dude, a lot of these cults have silly ass fucking rules, man.
Dude, And if they were living on Mando, think about if Mandalore, they could take their helmets off like a Russian orgy bath or Roman orgy and just bathe. Let's take our helmets off, do some weird stuff, hid in the bath, put our suit back on.
Wait, they can't?
We're redeemed. Well, the whole thing is to get redeemed. You go into the living waters, but if that's your home planet, you could basically just go in the waters every day.
Well, that's a good point. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
So
it's like you could have.
Do we think
orgy,
that historically
the
the reason they didn't is because the mythosaur is in there and the myth?
I don't know.
God, that's a good point, CG. It hadn't even occurred to me that they could just, if Mandalore was full on, you could just be taking it off and just go take a quick dip in the morning and
quick little dip.
By the way, I'm redeemed.
Yeah, I'm all good now. It seems a little easy.
I mean, clearly there's an allegory here for religion and how you can sin all day long and then go show up to church on Sunday,
go
ask
to
for
confession,
forgiveness, and go back to cheating on your wife and killing people and stealing, and it's no big deal because if you ask for forgiveness, everything's fine now.
Just do 10 Hail Marys and Our Father and you'll be good.
I remember being a kid in Sunday school just being like, thinking like, I can do whatever the fuck I want and then all I have to do is ask Jesus for forgiveness and I'm fine. Like, what?
What a construct weird for humans to cop out on their own personal responsibility. Like the whole construct is so obviously because I want to feel better about the terrible things I did. So now I'm good. Oh, good. Anyway, again, like I said, that's another podcast for another day.
That is a whole other fucking podcast, but I'm with you.
I don't know. I don't mean to shit on this episode. I probably like this episode.
I actually had fun.
Yeah, sure.
I had fun. But a lot of people like this episode. I noticed some people saying, hey, we're back. It's because I think it was a fun episode. Sorry, Curtis, go for it.
Oh, no, I was just going to basically repeat myself. I was like, I have fun, but I'm worried about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got 2.5 to 3 hours left of Mando.
They better figure out what we're supposed to care about pretty soon because we're running out of runway. And I think the reason I'm picking on the depictions of the broader Mandalorian group is because I do feel invested in that story. I am interested in Bo-Katan and this group. And to me, if there's going to be a successful broader story for Mandalorian, that's the story. I don't want it to be about the former Empire dickweeds or whatever the fuck else. But yeah, the idea of her taming the mythosaur and pulling a Khaleesi, like that's fucking great. I can't wait to see that. Side note, clearly where they're going to raise these 3 baby raptors, right? And they're going to and do you think that's another foreshadowing because they're going to raise these things and ride them and then they'll have like those 3 raptors and then there'll be Bo-Katan on her giant mythosaur followed by the 3 smaller raptors and then this
House
group
of Dragon type.
Yeah, exactly.
I never got into the beast riding thing in Star Wars. I never liked it.
Yeah.
No.
George Lucas wanted to do
that.
it. He always wanted to have people ride beasts, but he just didn't have the technology until you guys gave me that Ralph McQuarrie book, and he wanted motherfuckers to be riding these flying like manta rays in Cloud City. And they couldn't figure out how to. Yeah, fucking ridiculous. He couldn't figure out how to do it because of technology. And then they go to the prequels, and then everybody's riding all this stupid shit.
Oh yeah, he got to the prequels, and he's like splooging all over the screen because he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Like, there's gonna be water creatures, and there's gonna be this. There's like no one's there. Like George, fucking shut the tap. Stop,
dude. Check out these bugs.
Our movies.
There's bugs everywhere.
It's the fucking Jaws shark analogy, man. It's like. They wanted the shark to be on screen more, but they couldn't figure it out, so they had to be creative. And it's just like it's almost like limitations are better for these fuckers.
Yeah.
You know what? I have a feeling Ezra's going to come in Bo-Katan's going to be on the Mythi, everyone else going to be Raptor, and then you're going to have Ezra the Jedi riding in on a space whale.
Oh, fuck, I forgot there was a space whale. Oh, my God. Dude, who the fuck
was... So we got space whale things. We have, obviously, hints to New Order, sequel stuff. We got this doctor story. What the hell's going on with this? And then we got Grogu's backstory of what happens between Order 66 and before Mando found him in Season 1.
But you're right. That's just not a fun flashback.
There's a lot of
that means
stuff
something.
going on for how are they either going to make it all fit together or B, like, just make it make sense.
Well, I send you guys was it a Filoni interview? Didn't I text you guys about this? There was some interview with Filoni and something else I read in the press in the last couple of days that talked about how they would kind of confirm nor deny, but it felt a little bit like a wink wink, that they were building to some sort of crossover event for all of these series that are happening at the same time. So Ahsoka, Mandalorian, and this new Skeleton Crew show are all going to be overlapping from a timeline perspective. And so in a similar way that the
Boba
Avengers
Fett.
movies or Marvel, it's like they can let all of these paths converge. And I don't know if that means a movie event or maybe it's just like made for streaming, but it's like a 2-hour event that's a one-off. If smells like
Don't
Marvel.
Marvelize.
Yeah.
Don't Marvelize fucking Star Wars. Don't do it. Marvel sucks. I hate that whole franchise.
I'm not
it's
into
so
Marvel
corny.
either. I think I was just too old. But you know what? Iron Man was
Well, I
cool.
like the Thor movies, but other than that, but then they just kept making them. It's just like,
Yeah.
hey, we're making a lot of money. Let's just keep making them. And it's like you said, Kurt, it's like it's the end of the world in every episode in every movie.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't fucking know.
It
Yeah,
feels the
I
same.
just, it makes you wonder. Well, I guess I was thinking about that in the context of where they were going with the last episode, the New Republic, the remnants of the Empire characters. Maybe that's not going anywhere in this season. Maybe that's simply a broader piece of information
Seems like
to
it might
plug
be.
into some of the things that might happen in Ahsoka or Skeleton Crew and to set those things up. Or maybe it's like we said last week, it's really not going to drive the Mandalorian series story so much as it is going to start between these 3 series. They are going to help fill in the gaps and explain in a more robust way how somehow Palpatine has returned and try to make that feel less forced, because they probably know the same thing that Curtis just knows when he did that sound of "What was fucking half-baked," that you just oh, by the way, Palpatine's back, and they feel like they need to kind of correct that and try to help fix it a little bit, maybe by giving it some story. I don't know if that's good or bad, to be honest.
I don't think it's like fucking neither, right? It's whatever.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess, is it good that they're going to try to do that? Because I'll say this.
Maybe.
The way that the Rogue One film fills in the gaps of how the Death Star plans, that shit rules.
It did rule.
Really smart. Really great. Now, the problem is the concept of the Death Star plans wasn't a half-baked, shitty storyline.
No one was worried about that.
They weren't righting a wrong. They were just making a right even more right.
Even more, writer.
Writer.
It's like I'm totally into that idea of making it make more sense, but you gotta do it right. If you're gonna you gotta make it. If you're gonna fix a fucked up mistake, you better have a really good solution to fix it. You can't just like you say half bake it. So if you're gonna go that route, you better make sure it's perfect.
Yeah.
Or else it just makes it dumber.
They're not gonna do anything perfect from here on out, y'all. Just so you know.
Oh,
I'm worried
Anyway,
about Ahsoka because of Filoni. I personally have more space for optimism in my head regarding the Skeleton Crew show. Largely because I'm interested in, from what I understand, it's more of a coming of age story about a group of teenagers, essentially.
Yeah.
And
It's like the Goonies, maybe, or like
basically, if it's like Stand By Me meets Star
fun.
Wars, sign me up.
or Stranger Things.
Yeah, totally. There you go.
Yeah.
Good reference. And the guy, John Watts, who's making it, for all my issues with the Marvel movies, I actually really enjoyed the first 2, the Tom Holland Spider-Man. And the reason I liked him is because he did a great job with those kids' characters and their friendships. And I was actually emotionally invested in the Zendaya character and the buddy, the I guess he's bald in reality. I don't know if he is in the show. He wasn't at the time. But, those 3 kids I gave a shit about. And their
those
interactions
actors are great.
It was great. And so it worked for me on a human level. Therefore, the action carried more weight. So if that's the guy who's
And
doing
shout
that
out-
series,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And Jude Law's
It's
in
almost
it.
It's situational. I mean, you look at Gilroy with Andor; he just crushes it. So it's like it really depends on whose hands it's in.
And dude,
Yeah.
if you were to ask me the day before Ando came out, I'd have been like, I don't care. I don't give a fuck about this person. And I'd be like, I'm ready for a dumpster fire. But lo and behold, it's probably the best shit since Return of the Jedi. But I also love Mandalorian Season 2.
I have a hunch that 10 years from now, when we're still doing this, and yes, y'all motherfuckers subscribe because we ain't stopping, that when we can look back, that we will find that the things we enjoy the most in the Star Wars franchise, the new things they've created, have had to do with new characters that don't have OG baggage.
Right.
And that, I mean, and for no other reason, because it frees up the writers and the showrunners to get to do something a little different, and they're not bound by whatever preconceived notions the fandom has for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Or I know the Mandalorian's a new character, but it's operating in a world that feels familiar, and there's cameos. Like Andor worked because the world felt familiar, but these characters, we didn't know what their backstories were. We didn't know why. So they had full reign to just construct a story and get to do it in the sandbox. That, to me, in the year 2023 as a Star Wars fan, is where my excitement lies. Is talented storytellers being given the keys to the greatest toy chest of all time and get to tell stories with those tools, as opposed to you have to go write an Obi-Wan story, or you got to write a story and it needs to have Luke, and it needs to have Amidala, and it needs to have this. Like, I don't fucking want any of that shit. I just want
the Luke cameo at the end of season 2 was perfect, and then he got the fuck out of there. The more you hang out with Luke, the more you can, the more, like I said, like, they're minefields. Like, Vader, Obi-Wan, like, well, let's have them fight 3 times. Like, I don't know, man. Like, maybe that's a good idea, maybe it's not. But but shit.
Some of the other Star Wars fans I talk to, they don't like Andor's, but they surprisingly love Kenobi. They're like, oh, wasn't that great? Wasn't? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, and I was like, have you seen Andor? How good? It's like, it's okay. It's like, how are you not seeing this? How are you not going at Andor being like, this is genius?
Are they older or younger?
Yeah, they're older. Like they grew up with the OG trilogy.
Fascinating.
But I don't know.
The best thing I can say is different strokes, different folks. If you want my honest opinion,
I wish I enjoyed that shit. I wish
they're just not as discerning from a storytelling. I feel, and again, different strokes, different folks. But those people, for example, might love the Avengers movies. And
that's true.
They probably do.
And that doesn't make them. It's just different. Like if you, what you're going to Star Wars for. And I think I just had another moment again why I came in a little crabby on this season of Mandalorian after rewatching it is, and we all texted about the lack of, I don't need there to be lightsabers every fucking episode, but there's no soul sometimes in what we're watching now. Like, yes, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I fucking love watching TIE fighters chase somebody down. That fucking will never get tired. I'll never get tired of watching that shit. Right. But it'd be nice to have that and that like spiritual, soulful thing. Star Wars was always amazing action, but you felt something like this. For example, I wanted to ask about this. I don't have notes because my devices are being used to do this. Why can't the Force theme musically be used anytime the Force is used in these series? It doesn't have to be a Skywalker theme. I feel like there could be some really nice like goosebump moments with Grogu using the Force where we get to hear it. It doesn't have to be for minutes at a time, but just a brief melody swell while he's using the Force would give all of us that kind of sense of soul.
Dude, I think they have to pay JW every time they use that shit, dude. I honestly do.
Probably.
We got to figure out an answer
we
to
say that all the time. Yeah.
I gotta know.
I thought I heard a slight theme when Bo was chasing the Raptor in the sun. Okay. I thought I heard like that dun 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 dun, dun or something. Like, I thought I heard like that Two Moons theme. I thought maybe it was like a subtle might in that moment. But yeah,
it seems
but
like.
Speaking of, I'm sorry.
If they need the rights to that, and that's the answer, they need to stop fucking around and spend every dollar they have, which by the way is an insane amount of dollars because it's Disney, and just buy the fucking carte blanche rights to that and to just do it, because it would bring something that every single fan wants that's missing, even if they don't know that they want it. We all feel differently about different things in Star Wars now, and people love the prequels, we hate the prequels, but everybody loves the fucking music in Star Wars. Everybody. And if we could just find ways to incorporate some of that shit into this, I just think that they're missing a huge opportunity to make it feel satisfying without having to write whole new storylines.
It's a tough.
I know
it's funny.
Yeah.
Hey Paul, what's it called when the artist still like they own the actual song?
The master recording?
Yeah, I bet JW owns. Wait, is it masters is like where you record it?
Well, there's publishing, and then the master is the actual physical recording. So
okay.
that
I
shouldn't
bet
really matter
JW
here.
owns the publishing partially still.
He might. I don't know how they do those contracts, especially in the original trilogy I'm sure by the time Empire came out, they renegotiated. But yeah, I don't know how that works in the film
I bet
world.
you
I know how
Star
it does in the
Wars,
music
he
game.
didn't have a great deal. I bet you Empire,
Yep.
he had a fucking pretty good deal.
But again, you're right. He may retain the publishing rights.
Or at least
but
partially.
Everything has a price. And also, John Williams clearly loves the Star Wars world. And as much as this is a sad thing to talk about, Homeboy's 90-plus years old. So,
buy his ass out.
Buy his ass out. Like, I have a hard time believing that if they put a stupid amount of money in front of John Williams, that he'd be like, nope, I don't want any of my Star Wars themes to get used in further Star Wars storytelling. First of all, he doesn't need the money, so maybe it's not about the money. But I think he cares about Star Wars. I think he genuinely gives a shit. So I don't really...
He did the Obi-Wan theme. I mean, he obviously is willing to write something new at his, then...
And this is not writing anything new. Just give us the hall pass to use the fucking melodies. It's not...
Or you're Disney, a billion-dollar corporation. Pay the guy some money.
I don't know.
Maybe he just wants to be able to say where it goes and how it goes. If... He might be like, they might use it wrong.
Yeah, maybe.
And I could fucking totally see him doing that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the irony of him saying that is then he licensed it to an Obi-Wan Kenobi series and they fucking used it wrong. So,
Did they use it wrong? I don't remember.
I don't even think they used it.
They barely used it is my point. They didn't do fuck all with it. They, it was... Remember we bitched about the music the entire Obi-Wan series?
Well, yeah, he wrote the 30-second intro, which is I was like, oh, John Williams wrote this, but it was so
yeah, that was a PR move.
Basic, and it was just very it wasn't it's John Williams. He's the GOAT in terms of
right.
But it wasn't like a groundbreaking intro song. It was very light and.
That's the same as saying George Lucas produced Howard the Duck. It's like. Yeah, I mean, his name is on it.
Howard the Duck movie.
I guess the counterpoint on the music that the people at The Mandalorian might say is it has its own musical identity, like Ludwig, whatever the fuck his name is. And I agree. For largely, the music is good in Mandalorian.
I've grown to love that Mandalorian
He's
theme.
doing a good job, and the Mandalorian theme is on point. But what I'm saying is there's no reason why... I want him to be the one to use it. I want him to be able to use that Force theme when Grogu is doing something or if Ahsoka shows up. And so if you could let him incorporate that melody into the world musically that he's created for Mandalorian, which is fucking great, that seems like an especially fun moment because you get the Mando flavor with a little bit of the touch of the Force theme in there, and you're getting the best of both worlds. And that... I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're doing the editing, they're tying in so many features from the OG and with the side swipe, transition, how they do the swipes. Why not?
Yeah.
But we do have a fellow scoundrel that sent us a message. I think Soil Creeps Garden Geeks, I think's his name.
Oh yeah,
is it?
I think so. I think he's.
I thought it was okay. Sorry. I couldn't remember what
I don't
it was.
know. I could be,
All I know is the video was great. We love this guy.
He sent a
He
transmission.
says very nice things about us, so clearly he's very smart, obviously.
Very smart.
Because he likes us. But no, in all seriousness, really kind message from our one of our followers here.
He's one of us.
And a few comments that we'll go ahead and run right now. You guys get a little eyeballs on this dude. Give him a little shout out. Go ahead, Curtis. Roll it.
What is going on, my fellow scoundrels? It's Mark, transmitting live and direct and in full effect from beyond the outer fucking rim in an underground rebel base in a system called Villa Park, Illinois. Hey man, I wanted to tune in and let you guys know how much I absolutely love the podcast. It is incredibly well done. Art design, the direction are unbelievable. It is straight out of my brain, as you can maybe kind of pick up on down here. I think I have a few years on you. I'm a 47-year-old man-child. Your dissection of the last Mandalorian episode, the one with the fucking popsicles and shit, was spot on and incredible, man. It's kind of mind-boggling that you don't have more subscribers. That's not a diss. But, you know, I kind of think that's cool. I think that adds to the punk rock vibe. The go to Kinko's and make a zine vibe, which leads me to this. When I first stumbled upon you guys, it reminded me a lot of this. This is Report from the Star Wars Generation from 93. Started off as a little Xeroxed rag. By the time this third issue came out, Lucas and Co. caught wind of it and put the kibosh on it, obviously. But this is when Star Wars was just defunct. There was nothing going on Star Wars wise, obviously pre-internet and all of that stuff. You had to be a pretty hardcore dude. It was cool back then to kind of still love and talk about Star Wars a lot. This was written in a very witty way, and but yeah, that's kind of what you guys reminded me of. So yeah, that was 93, 94-ish, you know. So obviously by the time that the prequels came out, we were hyped. We're like, here we go, man, we're back in it. You know, we were the first in line. Fans besieged Lombard Theater. We were the first in line. They wrote an article about us. The line wrapped around the whole movie theater. God, was that awesome. Hopes were so high. It was great. We were there. We were living it. I actually have a documentary on it that I just recently, 25 years later, re-edited. Not a plug there. But we were the first, man, and we went in and we were hyped. And then, boo! The fucking prequels just, like, devastated us. Even day one, honestly. We tried to hug each other and fucking stop crying and look at each other and say, hey, the pod racers were kind of cool. You know, by the time the Attack of the Clones, we wanted so bad to try to like this thing. We were in denial a little bit. You know, we're like, that Yoda thing was cool. It's fucking not, you know, whatever. You know, the Emperor fights the fucking Mace Windu and he falls and you see his penny loafers. It's not cool. It's movies, it's Star Wars, it's fun, you know. But anyways, just wanted to say hi and tell you guys you're doing an incredible job. There is a huge fan out here in Villa Park, Illinois. Humongous kudos, man. Love you guys. Honestly, I'm sitting right there with you.
Anyway,
what a kick-ass dude.
We appreciate you, man.
Hell yeah, thank you.
Keep sending us stuff. We'll try to get you in the mix. And
do we want to try to put a link to
questions.
the full transmission he sent? Because I think it was like a 7-minute transmission. This is a little bit.
Yeah. We'll link to the full video. I'll put it in the comments below. So check the comments for that link.
Hell yeah.
This motherfucker is definitely one of us.
Yeah, he gets it.
Oh yeah,
he gets it.
He gets it.
Send us, but this is a great example of the kind of stuff we'd love to see. And again, it's specific comments and questions and points that we're not making, or by all means, if you think we're full of shit, but tell us so. Like, you know, we're all fucking scoundrels here.
Yeah, I want to get a prequel lover on here. Just like I want to know what the fuck's going on.
I actually, you know what? This is a great opportunity to touch on this. When Mando's done, we do want to do. The three of us have talked about how fun it would be to do a prequel episode where we bring in, where it's not just the three of us ranting and raving about how shitty the prequels are, but to genuinely try to not really change our minds, but have like an intelligent back and forth with people who really like it. So if you are one of these people, if you watch this and you genuinely really like the prequels and you'd be open to down the road getting involved in a conversation like that, send us a note and let us know, because once Mando's done and there's a bit of a break, it might be a time for us to kind of figure out how to do a prequel thing where we can bring people in as part of the conversation. It could honestly just be as simple as send us videos about the prequels that challenge our ideas, and we'll run your comments and questions in full, and then we'll respond.
Fuck that. Come on the Vulture.
Yeah. Get in there.
So yeah, send us anything related to Mando, anything Star Wars related at all. But also, we do want to have a balanced, fair and balanced, not fake news prequel discussion at some stage. We are building to that. So, you know, send us what you got. Tell us we're fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Bear with us, y'all. Bear with us. We're new.
I guess we're kind of
good on this.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, I like the episode. It was when it's like we say, when Mando's fun, it's fun. It's fun to watch. But yeah, let's see where the story goes.
Yep. I need a little more meat in the bone, but so far everything still tastes good.
Yeah, I'm along for the ride. Fuck it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll hit you guys next week. Be sure to tune in, like, comment, subscribe. Curtis, punch it.
Let's get out of here.